Now, there are very few post-apocalyptic worlds as devastating and dangerous as the Fallout universe. From super mutants to death claws, there's danger around every corner, and there's literally no hope for anyone in those worlds. What?
Another settlement has sent word that they need our help. Here's where they are. I hope you can help them. We've got to show people they can count on the Minutemen again.
Be right back. So anyways, as I was saying, it is incredibly bleak with very little bit of hope for those who survive in the Commonwealth. What?
Another settlement has sent word that they need our help. Here's where they are.
Gosh, hold on. I swear, Preston, I'm gonna kill you one of these days. Where was I? Super mutants, death claws, bleak, survival. Yes, in today's video, we're gonna be exploring the possibility, not now.
Another settlement has sent word that they need our help. Here's where they are.
Last time, I promise. Preston, you're freaking killing me. Unbelievable. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are stepping out of the vault. Not Vault 33 or even 111. I'm talking about Vault 13. You OGs know what I'm talking about. They're wandering out into the wasteland. Now, it was attributed to Albert Einstein that he said, "I know not what weapons World War III will be fought with, but I know World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones." And that's what we're going to do today. We are going to try to brave the Fallout universe using sticks and stones and see how far I think we can get based on the enemy types, based on the environment, and if it's even feasible to make it past a day out of your vault using ancient technology. As you guys now know, we cannot start the video without a word from our sponsor, and today's sponsor is none other than Brotherhood of Steel. Do you value honor, integrity, chivalry? Do you believe in preserving the future of mankind, doing morally questionable things for the greater good? Do you believe in preserving technology, but that only you have the ability to hold on to it because they can't be trusted? That sounds a little iffy. I apologize for that temporary lapse in discretion. The Brotherhood of Steel is honorable above reproach and will save humanity. No other factions exist except for the Brotherhood of Steel. So in the world of Fallout, survival is very, very uncertain. You have really overpowered weaponry like the Fat Boy, which is literally launching tactical nuclear warheads. You have the super mutants, and you have the Brotherhood of Steel, who are literally walking tanks that are almost impervious to all ammunition. But what I want to do for this video is start off and see how long we can survive. So I want to start with the lower level creatures, break them down a little bit, what weapons I think might work, and also do some destruction and cutting and miscellaneous stuff in the meantime to make it fun and entertaining. And before we get started into it, the reason as to why I'm doing this video, aside from loving Fallout all the way from the first one to Fallout 4, but not Fallout 76, that was kind of trash, is because obviously it's super trendy right now and it's at the top of the algorithm. So I figure if I put a picture of myself and a Fallout logo, there's gonna be higher clicks. So complete pandering is the answer to your question. I'm pandering to the wider audience, but we're gonna have fun regardless. First thing I'm gonna fashion myself. Well, if I'm straight out of the vault, the first thing I am going to do is make myself a sling. Slings are extremely versatile, very devastating in the right hands. Now again, this is not gonna do much against larger enemy types, but if you have feral ghouls, or raiders, and keeping you around and alive. So the best thing about the sling is obviously you can use anything for an ammo type. It doesn't need to be even a particular shape of rock. Some fly better than others, but something like this, even for example, you can throw that on there, and even that you can throw. Obviously that was a bad throw, But the point is, you can lob things. You have a grenade and you're feeling real brave, launch it out that way. So it's very versatile, easy to make, easy to repair if you lose it. And that's gonna be my starting weapon number one. For example, let's say this rock here. I don't know exactly how much a grenade weighs. I'm not a gun guy. I don't know anything about that. You can ask one of those gun tube dudes. But if we were to have a time delay on this thing here, and not like, let's say, pull pin and throw, you can actually set it up to have a time on it. In there just like that. And that's gonna give you a lot more range than just your arm, especially if you don't have a really strong throwing arm. So where does this thing cap at? Well, I would put it obviously above a rad roach, a mole rat, but I'd say when you're getting close to the mongrels or the mutated dogs, anything like that, that's gonna be the upper threshold limit of what this can do. So I'm gonna give this a check for ghouls, raiders, mole rats, rad roaches, and just wild animals that aren't mutated. However, regardless of where it caps out at, I would always keep it with me, hands down, up above the head just like that, because you can always pull it out on a moment's notice. Easy to have, ammo's everywhere. Like number one, this is the one I'm rolling with and I always have on me. Next up, and what's probably everyone's favorite thing to talk about, we have the sharp-edged weapon. Now, for this, I got 3 melons. I don't know exactly which one I would be partial to choose, so I'm gonna see which one does the best as far as sharpness. I have this one here from Cold Steel. This was about like $400. This one here from Albion, which is a lot more. And this one here, which is like a Falcata or Copus. And it wasn't too much money. So I wanna see how these do. I do like this one because it's got a lot of heft and weight to it on that handle, and it's got a heavy top side, which I feel like would help with the ghouls, kind of have that blunt impact. But now we're gonna slice some melons because it's fun. So in all earnestness, that did exceptionally well. I really like it, and I like that it has that blunt impact as well. It's a pretty decent edge, as you can see, but I like the mass behind it and that it's short, and it really is just a great bludgeoning weapon. So if there's ghouls or undead that are basically decaying already, I think this would be an amazing choice. We're not done yet. Next up, we have ourselves a Spatha. Now this is longer than a Gladius. So it is more of a slashing sword. I do like the idea of a Gladius being a thrusting sword, but I think slashing is really important as well. So we're gonna chop some more melon. So obviously this one did very well. I can definitely feel a difference when it's cutting through, as in there's basically no friction whatsoever on this thing. So it's a much better blade, much sharper. It's lighter though, so there's not really any sort of force impact that's gonna have as with the Copus or the Falcata, whatever you wanna call it. But I do like how quick this is as well. So fast, single-handed, easy to carry. That's high up there. And then last but not least, of course, we have the standard hand and a half. So this one's gonna take both hands obviously to use, but it's gonna have probably superior power, and it's got good thrusting elements also. And we're just gonna cut another melon because it looks cool. It's visual. Visual spectacle is the fun part. Now, no surprise there. Also exceptionally easy for the hand and a half blade. However, based on how everything performed and the carry capacity that a person has, I really feel like I would have to go to this bad boy, because I like that it's got that heavier top side right there. It's really gonna have a lot of impact power coming down, and it's just easy to carry, small, and will work for all situations. Getting to anything bigger, like a super mutant or even a mongrel, then you're gonna need something entirely different to try to deal with those. So this would be great for any sort of ghouls, raiders, and possibly could work for like maybe a smaller mongrel or something like that. But mole rats for sure, and rad roaches, but not, of course, rad scorpions. Now let's say you're unfortunate enough to come across the Brotherhood of Steel. Now there's a few different types of power armor: 45, T51, T60, and X1. Each one of those is upwards of 100, 200, 300, up to 2,000 pounds, I think it is. And it's estimated that the plate on them is 2 inches thick. Now you've seen me bust up quite a few things with this, but most of those are 14 gauge, which is not even an inch. So what I have here to see is I have a modern ballistics plate. This is 1 inch here of ceramic, I believe. So it's 1 inch thick, and their armor's not necessarily just steel. There's a few different elements in it also. But what I'm curious about, shot this thing with the bow. You may have seen it before. I don't want to do it again because it just obliterates arrows, obviously. What I want to see is I've never tested it against something heavy duty like this. So I want to see if you come up against the Brotherhood, if you can actually break one down by just sheer brute force. Well, believe it or not, this is definitely ceramic because I actually did crack the plate entirely. So it broke, and I can feel it broke and caved into back here. So I mean, it diffused the impact like it's supposed to, and ceramic does crack upon impacts, but this thing is in like 4 pieces now. You can actually feel it. So I think there's a chance I might be able to take on a knight in power armor if you get up and sneak up behind them, if it's made out of something similar to this. I'm gonna need to hammer this thing out again. You can see from all the testing over there, it's bent it in. So I actually ended up hitting it with the lower part here, so there's less give, and that's what caused the plate to break and shatter. So Grand undefeated still. I'm sure there's gonna be someone who's disappointed I didn't include axes or throwing axes. Aside from a tool, I don't see a lot of usage for them, especially throwing. They're good and all, but I just feel like it's one and done. You've thrown your weapon, it's over. So if I came across one, I wouldn't say no, but I wouldn't factor out anything else that's in my inventory for it. Ah, shoot. And lastly, of course, I don't know of anyone crazy enough to try to not survive the apocalypse without a bow. Now, I'm not a glutton for punishment. This is my 130-pound bow. I could do 160, but I feel like I would wear out super duper fast. At the end of the day, it's all about that longevity. Being able to stay fit, fast, and able to shoot quickly in order to keep yourself fresh, because cardio, endurance, that's the real winner. Got him. Next up, we're gonna talk about the Yao Gai, I think they're called. Anyways, they're the mutated bears, and the mongrels. Those are the larger predatory creatures, and also the rad scorpions. How would you get through that? How would you deal with that? How would you manage armor plating? Well, I think the number one thing you would need to have with you would be length, reach, distance, and surprise. And that's all gonna come in the form of a spear. So with a spear, even if you're a really strong individual, there's only so much you can thrust by your own strength into a target. And that's going through some cheap butted nail and the canvas of the dummy. So it's not making good penetration, you can see right there. So if you have something that's armored, you're gonna need some gravity to go along with it. If you want a chance at punching through thick scales or armor, you're really gonna need to do something along those lines. You're gonna have to have momentum coming down, element of surprise, and that's the only way I would take on a rad scorpion with sticks and stones. So there you have it, folks. Surviving in Fallout with just sticks and stones. Would I make it more than a day? Probably not. Would I make it an hour? Probably not. That is a harsh world and unforgiving. I would give it a go, but I think with all the prep and planning, you would just get wiped out. One rad scorpion comes up, you're toast. So good luck out there in the wasteland. Stay safe and get a fat boy.